indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask that you stay standing and that we have a moment of silence. Air Methods had a helicopter in Alabama go down this morning with some fatalities, and we're just going to have a moment of silence. Okay. Review of previous minutes and approval. Any changes to the minutes from the February 27th meeting?
Motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Paul Barters made a motion to accept the minutes. Do we have a second?
Sure.
Mark Tuttle seconds. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Next is the treasurer's report. This was sent out to you ahead of time. Balance sheet as of March 23rd. Shows that we have $2,700 in the checking and $34,000 in the savings for a combined of $37,545. The report was also attached showing where the income was and where the expenses were. Mark, we have a couple checks that need your signature. We'll get them up to you so that we can get them distributed.
Sure.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? Motion to accept the treasurer's report as previously provided to you.
So move.
Second. Motion made, that was Larry, and seconded by Dottie Suter. I'm just saying them so Karen can get the names in her. Are we going too fast for you, Karen?
You're good, thank you.
Okay. Moving on, the enforcement list. I did the same thing this time as I did for February, so I gave you the person's name, their address, what the violation was, and then what that actual violation is, so you can see them. So Robert Marshall from Jamaica misappropriated money or property from any service during the course of any EMS duty or practice. His license, his certification, he surrendered it. Next one is Staten Island, physical abuse of a patient, surrendered their certification and paid a civil penalty of $500. The next one from Wantagh, suspension and shall not renew their certification upon expiration and paid a civil penalty of $2,000 for negligent in the performance of his or her duties and incompetent in the performance of his or her duties. The next one from Castleton was convicted of a criminal offense and their certification was revoked. The next one, and this is the one, folks, that we need to pay attention to, and we need to make sure that we're reviewing this with our agencies and that everybody is doing what needs to be done. This Patterson Fire Department in Patterson had a suspension of 1 year at state, but they're on probation for 3 years and have a civil penalty of $2,000. Not competent in the operation of the service or has shown inability to provide adequate ambulance services, has failed to file any report required by the provisions of the article, discontinued operations in a period of excess of 1 month, the CON valid for 2 years, minimum inventory, equipment, displayed an out of service sticker, did not have that for an ambulance, maintain an ambulance which conforms to the standards, they didn't have a minimum equipment, they didn't maintain a current state issued cert, their equipment was not clean and sanitary, they did not maintain the interior in the same condition, and they had O2 tanks that had not been hydrostatically tested. So we need to make sure we're sharing this with our ambulance services. When I look at the top ones, there are a couple of them failure to get out. We have some ambulance services that still have a high percentage of scratch rate that could possibly fall under that. We can't afford to lose anybody, so we need to figure out what we need to do. Next one from Rochester, responded to a call while under the influence, surrendered his certification. The next one, a 3-year probation and a civil penalty of $2,000. Negligent in the performance, has been incompetent, and has failed, falsified a patient record. So those are just the ones since we met in February. So you can see there's a lot of cases that are being processed and taken care of. Does anybody else have any correspondence? Hearing none, we'll move on to committee reports. So auditing, books are where they should be. All the checks are accounted for, the funds are accounted for, everything is where it should be and is appropriate. Bylaws, we'll review those under old business, but I do have a question. Ron, I don't know if you guys talked about it at all, but do we want printed copies of the bylaws with the changes or electronic? Is that sufficient? I need to know what you would like. Before we took them, I had printed.
The bylaws on plain paper should be made available for anybody requesting.
So we don't.
I don't think we need a fancy book.
So we don't need to print them. Does anybody have any concerns with that?
I could PDF it, mail it out.
Yeah.
It should be available on a PDF form, but somebody that wants it printed, shouldn't be a very big deal to print.
Okay.
A few pages, I wouldn't think. Anybody disagree?
It saves time and money. I mean, I took them to Staples before to have them printed and, you know,
Yeah.
we put them in the binders and.
Yeah, I don't need binders.
I know that FDR HPO is in the process of updating their website, so maybe when that's done, we can have a REMSCO section that's for members only, that they could go in and print them out if they'd like or whatever type deal, so that it's there. CON, allegedly we have one that may be coming forth at some point here. I haven't seen it. Don't even know where it's from. So if something comes in, we will get it out to people for review. Executive committee, we had an executive committee 2 weeks ago and reviewed. We went through all of the members and what their attendance was. Per the bylaws, it says if you miss 50% or more for that year period, that you are removed. And there's nothing in the bylaws that say at the discretion of the executive committee, it just says you will be removed. And there was 3 people that were removed for the attendance issues. It doesn't say excused, it says if you miss 50% or more. So letters did go out to 3, and there's been some subsequent conversations about those with the executive committee that we had no authority to do anything different. That's what it calls for in the bylaws. 4th round.
Turning back to that before you go on, should there be something in the bylaws for a person with extreme circumstances? Let's say he's undergoing cancer treatment or such. Now use that as an example, that he can't make 2 meetings, especially when you have 2 meetings back to back like we have recently. Should there be, at the discretion of the executive committee or a vote by the full council, that they'd be allowed to be excused because of their circumstances?
Are there exempt criteria for like a medical illness or injury? Currently,
No. It just says you know, absence of 50% or greater during that April 1st to March 31st constitutes automatic removal from the council.
Whereas if somebody that's had a bad car accident that is slowly recovering, is a good member, but they've had it one time, should that be considered as a bylaw thing?
I think, Ron, if your committee wants to get something written up, we could present it at the June meeting for addition to the bylaws. Especially if we're gonna do it electronic, where we're not printing and then turning around and having to print changes again. It'd be easy to make changes. We'll talk about that. My other thought with, if we're gonna do in PDF, maybe what we'll do is the changes, I'll do in a different color. So that when you look at it, you know what changes are, and then as another change comes, those will become black and the new change will be in a different color, just so that if you're going through and wanna see what changed, it's gonna be easy for you to see the changes that were made. Rich?
The only thing I wanted to put out for public knowledge is July 26th is the day that we are doing our full-scale emergency exercise on Fort Drum, which always involves a mass casualty, mass fatality portion of that. So we always work with the county EMS guys, but also Samaritan, Carthage, and this year River Hospital are also participating. So on July 26th, they'll be having a lot of ambulances participating across the county. And another thing for public awareness, we always let the hospitals know, but we do something called a Mountain Fest every year, big concert and fireworks thing. That was in early September last year, but we're moving it back to its original timeframe, which is always late June. So that is on June 21st this year. So.
Very good.
Oh.
Can you provide any information on where the helicopter's at and what is going on with that?
So I do know that every so often we lose that capability on Fort Drum because they deploy for their peacekeeping or global security missions. And I think that's going to be coming again next year. So we're going to be looking at maybe contracting that out again. I don't know how that's going to go yet.
I meant coming out base, coming out to help the
Yeah.
community, because the last we knew it was still the
Yeah.
liability end there was.
So it's a complicated subject, but the liability for use of a DoD resource is covered by something called Defense Support of Civil Authorities. And it is written into law how that's supposed to work. There should be no additional liability agreements or anything between the municipality and the DoD because the process is established in law. But I know that they are not always, as easy to utilize as a civilian version, but I do know that they are still supporting a lot of St. Lawrence County requests for service. They're always able to accommodate when requested. It just has to go through the approval authority to the commander at Fort Drum, which challenges with before, but I do know that they're always postured to respond and assist if that civilian capability is already used or is not able to respond because of weather and other indicators.
Did you guys hear him okay? Good. I didn't know with this new system how.
Oh, yeah, it'll pick up
He's
anything.
working well. Good. Any questions for Rich with Fort Drum? Okay. I'm gonna ask Chris Singleton to give a legislation.
All right, so we've been busy. In our office, we've set up meetings with state representatives. We try to reach out to, especially the agencies in Jefferson County and the ones that St. Lawrence County, some of them over in Lewis County. We contacted all the county coordinator's office, et cetera. We did set up meetings with Senator Mark Walton, Senator Barclay, Scott Gray, and Blankenbush. And very quickly, we thanked them for the Medicaid increase. We did invite them to the EMS memorial and provided them with that information. We made sure we sent every one of them a copy of that EMS sustainability tag. We reviewed parts of the governor's budget. I think by now most people are probably very familiar with it, that there's some really good stuff in there, but unfortunately there's a few bad things in there that really strip this body and strip, the state REMSCO of some authority. So some of those things are just too much to handle. So explain why we thought there could be a better way. Each one of the Senate and the Assembly both have introduced one House bills. We talked to each one of our representatives about that. We had a really good meeting with Scott Gray, and he explained that the Assembly, although it says that they're really opposed to it, they're not really opposed to the material that's in there. They as a body oppose the governor wanting to change legislation through the budget process. So throughout the entire budget, they disapproved everything, and they're going to be looking at each thing on an individual basis. So we kind of thought they were against some of our initiatives. Turns out they like our initiatives, just the way it was presented they didn't like, so they're trying to push them back. So that's okay. We'll see where that goes. I know Mark talked a little bit about the EMS districts and the CON process. We had our day in court there to explain why we thought those were some problems. We provided them with a copy of the ambulance offload report, and I know in Jefferson County, we sent this out to everybody. Really good data from the North Country and different areas around the state, how we kind of stack up. In here, a couple things that are very notable. We've lost over 7,000 EMS providers. The North Country as a whole, we've seen a 47.6% increase in 911 calls, and we've seen about a 38% increase in transports. But the good news, we really haven't seen any reduction in our readiness and our ability to transport. Our transport times have remained pretty consistent. So I think it shows even though we're increasing in our call volume and our transports, we're still being able to hold on. So I think that report worked in our favor a little bit. We talked to them about the direct pay. A lot of them didn't really understand that the monies went to some of the patients. Bruce had a really good story. Zach Mentor from Mentor Ambulance had a good story. Folks down in North Shore. So everybody was able to share some very personal experiences, how patients have utilized the service and kept the money. They're keeping tax-free money, and it's currently legal. So they're trying to change that. Mark Walczak actually did sign on as a co-sponsor as a result of our meetings with him. And of course, the ambulance assessment that Onion is pushing educated them on those kind of things. At the federal level, 3 of us went down to EMS Day on the Hill down in Washington, D.C. Had really good meetings. We asked for 4 things. Protecting access to ground ambulance service. This is the Medicare, the 2% urban, 3% rural add-on that we were, I would say, promised by, I'll put this, Chuck Schumer, promised us that we would have this. We really did have some good meetings with folks. They're in support of that. We didn't find anybody that didn't understand it. The Siren Act is up for reauthorization. It was a 5-year. It really targets rural EMS. It provides funding. It's very similar along the lines of the Assistance to Firefighter grants. Firefighter grants gets millions of dollars. This started out at $5 million. This past year, it was 10.7, I believe it was. We're asking for $20 million. Last year, they were able to provide 41 different grants around the country. This year, they're looking at 52 different grants, and if we can get an increase, we're going to be able to pass that money along for training, education, staffing, equipment, whatever. Again, targeted just for rural.
That's 50-some grants for the nation?
Yes. Yeah, 10.7 million divided by 50 states. So not a lot of money, but we were asking
Either.
for 20 million, so it's been slowly increasing. It was a couple years of 5, it went to 7.5. Last year was 10 point something. We're asking for 20. And you know, in Washington DC, 20 million is like finding a dime on the sidewalk, so nobody even balked at that. That was pretty easy. And again, Chuck Schumer said he can guarantee we're gonna have that. The next thing was save the EMS workforce. I don't get this a whole lot, but apparently Department of Labor was contacted and said, we would like you to count all the EMS providers. Apparently when you, under the Department of Labor, if you're a firefighter, there's only one checkbox, I'm a firefighter, period. But if you're a firefighter, EMT, or firefighter, paramedic, you don't get counted in the EMS workforce. So the Department of Labor said, no, we can't do that. You got to go talk to Congress. So we went and talked to Congress and talked to them about that. Seems pretty simple. The other thing, it was going to add 50 million to a fund for EMS preparedness and response. We cited the pandemic and some of the equipment and supplies that have been lost and been used. The next pandemic's around the corner. We need to build our supplies up. So this would be a fund for EMS so we can better respond and be able to have the equipment and whatever to respond to the next pandemic. And again, Chuck Schumer promised us 100% we'd get that. So 3 out of 4. The last one was reimburse EMS for treat in place. The telehealth was extended till 24, but the treat in place and the transport to alternate destination expire, next month?
May 11th.
May 11th, thank you. Expires in May. There's a little bit of contention here. The Democrats want to, I'm going to say, kick the can down the road. They just want to extend what we already have. Republicans are saying, let COVID die and let's bring this thing to life on its own merit. And Wednesday, when we were down in DC, they actually had a meeting over at CMS. They have a work group working on evaluating how effective is the ET3, the treating in place, telemedicine and things. And they couldn't give us numbers, or all sworn to secrecy until it's officially released. But they said it is substantial, the amount of money that these initiatives are saving Medicare. In some estimates, it's $2,500 to $5,000 in savings per patient. Some of our colleagues are doing this. They're seeing about a 70% chance, 75% of the time, they're not transporting patients for some of these lower acuity calls, yet the ambulance service is still being paid whether they transport or not. So it kind of helps EMS, it gets them back in service quicker. Patients are very happy because they don't have to spend all that time in the ER, takes the weight off the ERs, and it saves everybody money. So nobody really loses. The hospital folks are down there all the time complaining about overcrowding and wait times and things. And all they're really asking for is money. And here comes EMS and says, okay, we have a plan. We can help this thing along. So I think this year, going down many years, we've gone down to DC. We get listened to, I'm going to say very politely, thank you for coming, and, kind of there's the door. This year, they spent a great deal of time asking us questions. They drilled down. Some of these folks were very familiar with what we were proposing, and they asked us some very, very direct, pointed questions about some of the initiatives we're doing. So I think we've got some people's ear, and I think we're going to see some change. So 3 out of 4 things at the federal level we're asking for ain't bad, and I think we're going to get the 4th one as soon as we can put it together. So that's all I know. Okay.
Mark, you want to give an update on the rural that you did last week?
I was in Albany last Wednesday at the Rural Resources Fair with Mike Bennett. We went because on the committee was the chair and ranking member of the insurance committee, and we were going to try and grab them for some FaceTime to get a plug-in for direct pay. It was actually a relatively well-organized event, other than the people protesting constantly on the stairways. But we got FaceTime with about 50 elected officials. And again, most of them seemed relatively educated on the proposed initiatives, or at least aware of the proposed initiatives. We didn't have a huge amount of time. It was unscripted, 3 to 5 minutes per an elected official kind of thing. But, you know, there are things like the Medicaid assessment that, you know, there's varying levels of education on. There's also, you know, same thing with direct pay and community paramedicine. There's a portion of the elected officials who believe that we're going to be doing like appendectomies in somebody's house and not stuff that's already within our scope of practice. You know, because there's the opposition to community paramedicine is led by people who think that we're untrained buffoons doing care and trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So, you know, reaching out to the elected officials is important, and making sure they're well educated on our initiatives is something we need to focus on.
Any questions for Chris or for Mark on the legislation? Membership, Karen will defer to this till after we go over the bylaw change and see how many openings we have and work on getting those posted. Do you have the nominations, Patty, or do you not have that email?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you can just say who the nominations are, and under new business, we'll do the elections.
Okay. For chair, it's Debbie. For secretary, it's Karen. And for treasurer, it's Bobby.
Mark Peer,
We have not met because we got no nominations for of the year awards. I don't believe we've had any excellence in EMS since the last meeting. And so I know when we got it last week, we were going to sit down and kind of come up with some people and agencies that we could put in place for of the year nominations to get them to the state before the deadline.
So, Mark, so the deadline for that was today, so I was just waiting for all of them to come in or not come in before I sent it to you. So I do have one here at the office that I'll get to you, and then I have some excellence ones to forward to you. I was just gonna do it all at once.
and the other thing is, the other thing we're gonna need to review is, if you recall, we spent some funds last year and contracted with FDR-HPO to do some recruitment retention ads and flyers for us. And I would like to really, I would like to launch those EMS week. So we have all those done, so we've got to work on getting some of those printed and getting them ready to launch and getting a good media presence out there for EMS week with that stuff. But Krista did a remarkable job. The ads are great. The flyers are good. So we just my thought was we would launch that EMS week. So we need to get going on that. Jonathan, program agency.
Hi, everybody. So as you know, there's been some changes at the program agency, and I'm not in. So Ann left, her last day was March 24th. And so now I have taken over as program agency director. Jessica Thompson, who is at the St. Lawrence County location, is our clinical coordinator. She'll be handling a lot of our education stuff that's going to come out of the office, our Stop the Bleed. We are now an ASHE CPR center, so we can do ASHE CPR courses out of the office. We have a network of 7 Stop the Bleed instructors in the office alone, between EMS staff and others that are former clinical providers or are still active clinical providers. We also hired to replace my position. So Amanda Slate joined us 2 weeks ago. So you'll start getting correspondences from her as well. Shared screen. So I'll have Jess report on RTAC and USTAC.
Okay, so Ann and I attended the last meeting on March 24th down in Syracuse. So they have updated reported that they're at 118% capacity. They're pushing for their burn echo education presentation, which is accredited for CEUs or CMEs. That's from 12 to 1 p.m. The next one coming up is on June 16th. You reported this, right, Jen? Somebody, CPH was having an issue getting charged from about 25% of the total charts coming in. So if you have issues with charts coming in, you can get a hold of us as well to help retrieve those. The trauma centers are getting verified in a new system this year. They have new guidelines that are coming out. Mental health is available in those guidelines. They're also reviewing geriatric trauma and TBI best practices. They hope to have those changes and those reviews up by the end of the year. And the next one that's up on deck is chest trauma. And then this was canceled last minute, the last meeting.
So the Upstate Quality Group, we still have funds available for the Fast ED education. It's really simple. All you do is have 50% of your primary providers take the training, you fill out a roster and send it to our office, and we send you money. Not a lot of money, but it's better than nothing. It's like $221, $229. It's one of the two. I can't remember the exact one. We are going to meet again and discuss this as the quality group to see what we can do with the remainder of funds, but we do have a pool of money sitting there waiting for agencies to submit to. Agency renewals, I did get a handful today too, after I'd already completed this report, so they're not reflective here. So these are renewals that we either helped process or were processed since the last REMAC meeting, or REMSCO meeting, sorry. IGEL BLS demo project, so regional applications were signed for South Jeff, Parishville, Tri-Town, Evans Mills Ambulance, and Lewis County Search and Rescue. Regional BLS adjuncts that were approved by the REMAC, BLS Narcan, albuterol, epi, glucometry, and CPAP for Seaway, and BLS blood glucometry for Hubleton pending their limited lab license, us getting it. BLSFR applications, we did get one from Helena, I said it right this time, volunteer fire department up in St. Lawrence County. Dr. Howland has agreed to be their medical director. We just need to do a letter of support from the region, so that's why it's here for you guys.
Where is Helena?
You know where Plasky is? It's nowhere near there.
Way north.
It's way north. It's between Brazier Falls and Messina, right on the Franklin County line.
So we need a motion that this council sends a letter of support for them to become a BLS first responder agency. Motion made by Larry Gerard. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Matt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried.
Also, that's their fault. IPL stuff. I forgot them on the list. Sorry, Jim, or James.
Seems that it texted.
Yep. No, I forgot it. It was in the whole transition period. So EPCR in progress. We have DeGrasse, Claire, South Russell with a go live date to be determined. North Pole Fire Department goes live tomorrow, so I'll be here bright and early to make sure that transition goes well. The remaining agencies are still on paper. There is no push to make them go from paper to electronic because they aren't in the CME program for recertification. I will say though, just judging by the climate with the state and things that they are starting to push out in the documentation side of things, it probably won't be long before these agencies have to go through and become electronic accreditation. It's really just a matter of time. And we do have a handful of departments that aren't in the online CME system that have already gone to electronic for their BLSFR just because they see it coming down the pipe. EPCR data integrity, so Zach and I sit on the state's data integrity committee. The schematron update that was supposed to go out in January was postponed. The program, Zach and I are specifically working with other program agencies to develop education on it. It was a very paramedic and urban area dominated committee. So Zach and I jumped in there as a BLS perspective, but also a more rural EMS perspective. So they weren't making rules and expecting us to have to try to follow it when it's something that's not realistic for situations that happen here in the country. The state's goal is to move to NEMSIS 3.5 by January. We did do a glucagon review for the REMSCO, or for the REMAC, sorry. And it was decided at the REMAC to issue a statement of the use of the GVOC auto injector for glucagon administrations. So that will be coming out by the end of the week. What else? Also, we were approved to do the Versed formularies for alternate medications for seizures that are in the protocols and policy statement. That will also come out this week from our office. We did submit a alternate formulary for albuterol because there is an albuterol shortage to go to Zopidex. That's kind of been yo-yoed back and forth a little bit between yes, they're going to approve it and no, they're not going to approve it, and make us wait to the CMAX REMSCO meeting that's in May. So hopefully I'll have more on that this week on which direction we're going to go. They're saying that instead of going to Zopidex or ALS providers, if they have a shortage of albuterol, can just go to a DuoNeb and administer that. My concern, and I think it was a majority of people at the REMAC meeting as well, is, well, what's that do for our BLS providers? Because DuoNeb is not in the BLS protocols. So that's an argument and fight that I'll keep pushing, and we'll see where we get with that. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent from EPCR data integrity. So continued issues with ESO. They have set up meetings. The first two were down by the city because that's where the bulk of the ESO customer base is, hoping that New York City and Long Island would beat them up enough that they would fix their issues. They're slowly working on it. We're hoping that with the next schematron update, it's going to lax some rules that will allow back EPCR data from ESO to come through, so we can at least get caught up on the backlog that's not making it through to us, and then find a path to work our way forward. Training in March, we did the Surviving and Thriving When Words Count EMS Financial Management training with Maggie Adams. It was originally going to be held virtually and in person, but they had the nor'easter in Pennsylvania. She lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and couldn't make the drive. So we moved it all to virtual. We had 30 providers attend with some really good feedback, and certificates will go out this week for that. Spring Fling, I'm gonna let Debbie talk because I need her.
So we're scheduled the 27th through the 29th. As of this morning, we had 101 attendees registered, and we know we'll have a big push the day that the registration closes, like always. We have 12 vendors, 19 vendors signed up to be there again. I will be sending out a request probably the next couple days. We will need help, as always, with registration, scanning people when they're coming out, scanning people when they go to lunch type deals. So we'll send that out, and hopefully some folks can give us some time to help with that. Jonathan and I spent a couple hours today, went through stuff where we're at, speakers and all that. So everything is looking wonderful there. I know that we haven't gotten to this one yet, but we need to talk about next year's. Next year, the last weekend in April is actually spring break for the schools. So we know that we tried that one year and that was not successful. The weekend before, the weekend of spring break, people are just going on spring break with their families. Easter is early next year. It's March 31st. So, I would like to propose, and I talked to Janine at Edgewood, and this date is available, but I need to get back to her so that we can put it on the calendar. I would like to propose April 11th through the 13th for next year's spring fling, so we can get it on our calendar up there. We can save the date on our stuff that we'll hand out this year at spring fling type deal. But we have not been successful whenever we've tried to do it either at the beginning or at the end of spring break. We just don't get the participants that attend. And I think next year we'll see even higher numbers because everybody that's got extensions on their cards, their extensions are gonna be up and people are gonna be looking to get their hours and get their stuff in. So does anybody have a burning problem with that? Does somebody want to make that a motion? What would you like to do there for spring fling for next year?
It sounds like you avoided the major holidays and vacations, so barring any other conversation, I'd make the motion for you to make the 11th through the 13th of April 2024 the spring fling dates.
Thank you. So we have a motion to go with April 11th through the 13th of 2024 for spring fling next year.
Second. Article today about storms should fly out of Syracuse. Get there at least 2 hours early because the lines are horrendous. So there you are, people are traveling.
What's the big solar eclipse is right in that time frame?
That's the 8th.
The 8th?
Yeah.
April 24,
Yeah.
correct?
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I will get with Janine at Edgewood. We'll get that put on the calendar so that we don't lose those dates.
Debbie, who made those motions? I couldn't hear you very well.
Matt Yelton and Larry Gerard.
Thank you.
Leadership conference, so we've partnered with the area health education councils, I think that's AHEX, to do the leadership conference again. This year it's gonna be in Queensbury. It's gonna be a hybrid format, Saturday, May 13th, and registration should be opening up this week. Our theme for this year is gonna be cultural changes for an ever-changing field. A lot of the feedback we've got from previous ones were not so much about recruitment, but more about retention and creating an atmosphere that will help retain people. So there's gonna be a speaker on PTSD and provider mental health. Things that I wish I would have known when I got into EMS for people who are emerging leaders, HIPAA compliancy, and also bias in the workforce. So we're excited for that. Registration should open up this week, I hope. And then the learning management system. So Jess has been really working hard on this, and it is a really nice system. We launched at the end of January. There's 278 providers, which is 20% of our registered providers in the North Country Mountain Lakes region combined. Upcoming training, I'm reaching out to Ryan Bladorn with the Mystic to set up our Fort Drum EMS Day again, where we get to go over to their medical simulation, and it's a good time. It's fun. So once I get all that set up, I'll get that out to everybody to share with their agencies and their counties. REMAC expiration dates, I'll let you talk about this stuff.
So we'll be putting out notification that these folks that sit on REMAC, their term, that give other people an opportunity to sit in on those, unless somebody, one of those folks wants that position, and they can apply again. But we'll be putting that out so that we can have them, and then myself, Dr. Delaney is the REMAC chair, and Jonathan will sit down, we'll review those and get people appointed for the REMAC positions for the June meeting.
So just some other stuff that we've done. So we've participated in the State Quality Metrics Legislative Committee, Systems Committee with review of 0606 and the State Data and Informatics Committee, specifically with the education portion of the NEMSIS 3.5 update. State EMS meetings and attended in December and February, and I will be going from here on out. EMS Memorial is May 23rd. Last year, we had some really great representation from the North Country region. It would be nice to see that again and see more. It just speaks volumes really for the North Country region, seeing all of us there. There's huge value in that. Miscellaneous, so Anne was participating in the CNY Health Emergency Preparedness. She now leads that committee in her new job. So I have taken her place on that, so I'm working with that. The Northern New York Child Fatality Review Team, the Central and Western Stroke Coordination Group planning in December, Samaritan Medical Center stroke meetings, Upstate Stroke Quality Group, Jefferson County MIH meetings our office is participating in. The program agency contract was renewed and approved. And if you have any paperwork that needs to come to our office, please email it to paperwork@fdrhpo.org. This is our best way of making sure that we're catching everything that comes to us. In the event that you send me something and I'm out of the office, somebody's still going to be able to see it if it goes to the paperwork address. We all have access to that. Any questions for the program agency or REMAC? Cool.
Thank you, Jonathan. Safety, Larry.
Nothing new.
Mark, SEMSCO and CMAC.
So, SEMSCO and CMAC has met twice since the last time we met. The first one was in December.
Charity report, now that I think about it, I don't think we've had we met February 27th, so we haven't had a meeting since then.
And February, in the beginning of February this year. So the state is hiring more people than they ever have. Most of it to do enforcement and
you already, we met on February 27th, so you've reported on that.
Okay. I don't know.
Nothing new.
I think I had one confused with REMAC.
Because we hadn't met in REMAC since October.
Bro.
So you're aware, Dr. Matt Maynard's term as CMAC doc, we got a letter at the beginning of March saying his term ended in December. And he works nights, and getting down to those meetings is very difficult. But Dr. Ryan Coates has stepped up and said he would take that. So as soon as he gets me his CV, we'll be submitting that to have him replace Dr. Maynard as our CMAC doc. As those are, at this time, they're not allowing virtual meetings and they have to be there in person. So it just doesn't work with his schedule. So next meeting is May 7th and 8th.
Yes.
May 7th and 8th for that. Paul, training and ed.
Nothing to report this.
County reports.
Well, in Jefferson County anyways, our courses are still going on. We have our basic EMT class out at Fort Drum are doing their practical this weekend, so our practicals are coming upon us. We're still doing our mobile integrated health. At this point, we have made over 150 home visits, and that's going very well. We had a commercial completed by Spectrum last week. We're expecting to see the the clip of that here sometime this week maybe. So it will be streaming on all of the Spectrum channels, so Hulu and some of those others, Netflix, any ones that got commercials, you'll see some local folks in that commercial. At that point, we're anticipating the floodgates to open up with referrals. Still, Rich has already talked about the Fort Drum disaster drill. We continue to hold our quarterly meetings with our agencies. Our next meeting is on June 14th. We just met 2 weeks ago, I think it was. We continue to do some joint training with Fort Drum, especially with the Guardian Academy, with their active shooter and their RTF, the Rescue Task Force. That opportunity is still out there for any of the providers. If they are interested in participating in that, it's a excellent drill for NCI. They do allow our participants to actually go into the building itself that they're doing the active shooter training in. So it is a full day with some excellent training. The next academy at this time is scheduled in about the August time frame after the summer stuff settles down out at the coast. And I guess the last thing is our course sponsorship, we believe is up at the end of June, but we received a letter or an email from Albany saying that you're gonna get a letter sometime in the month of March if you need to do your renewal. Well, it's beyond the month of March, we haven't done it, so we're going forward and doing our renewal. We just are gonna reach out to find out if we need to do short form or long form, but we'll get that done by the June deadline.
So we'll have it to be able to vote on for the June 12th meeting?
Sure. Yes.
Any questions for Paul with Jefferson County? Jonathan St. Lawrence.
He's not there, but Jess has a report for him.
Okay.
From John Mitchell, he says, number one, St. Lawrence County has an underutilized EMS scholarship. This scholarship, which was formed last year, allows for full or partial tuition and materials reimbursement with some stipulations. The application can be found on the county website for St. Lawrence County, and applications are accepted until funding is depleted. Currently, he says that we have 4 awards currently, the 3 being for AEMT programs. Number 2, all county statistics and annual reports can now be found on the website under Bureau of EMS resources. Number 3, the county just acquired a new command vehicle, which can be utilized as a mobile command post for major incidents or events. This vehicle is open to use for all emergency services agencies across the county. Number 4, we are revisiting active shooter dispatch policies for EMS. If Lewis or Jefferson have one, he'd be interested in reading it. And he says we have multiple swatting incidents across the county as well. We have a solid one for police, but not for EMS. 5, the MCI plan is being updated, should be completed and ready for review in a week or 2. And then last is number 6, mutual aid plan is being written. However, they're having issues with automating it with the CAD system. And then once they figure out that issue, it'll be ready for review as well. And that's all he has to report.
This is Paul with Jefferson. I just failed to mention that commencing mid-June, we are doing a daytime basic EMT class. We got the approval back from Albany. It's going to be a 3-day a week, and it's hopefully capitalizing on the college students that are on break and the high school kids that are on summer vacation. So if that word could be spread out to your departments. I know we put it out. We've got quite a few.
18 original and 4 refresher already.
About 20 people have already enrolled, so we get the word out.
Any questions for St. Lawrence County?
Debbie, can, we see if Doug Wildenmuth wants to have any comments on the county education side. Please. Doug.
Deb, you good with that? Freeze up now. So, I just wanted to go ahead and add to the St. Lawrence County education programs. Clarkson's got a lot of stuff going on right now. We have the summertime EMT class that has been unfolded, and we did it last year. We had a great participation in it. It's 2 times a week, about 5 to 6 hours a day with 2 Saturdays. It only goes 12 weeks starting May 13th. But the neat thing about this program is it gets the participants street ready and with minimal FTO afterwards. So it's like an academy, however, it's slightly longer and they're street ready to go. So we're looking forward to that. Registration just opened on Friday, and it's going to be open until the middle of May, where it's going to close. Price tag and everything is incorporated in it with uniforms and books and registration and what have you. So that's already out there. If you did not receive that email, I know Jonathan kindly put it online. Thank you, sir. That's going to be happening. We have a PALS class that I didn't announce yet, but it's going to be Saturday, April 15th at 8 a.m. I'm going to be getting that flyer out today, or I'm sorry, tomorrow or the next day. If anybody's interested, cost is $150. Our CME series is actually near conclusion. We started last September, and we have a speaker every month except for December, and then we close down during the summer. On April 20th, Drew Anderson from SUNY Albany. He's a psychologist, associate professor in psychology and a very active EMS member. We'll be doing mental health and wellness in EMS, which is one of those required areas, and it is virtual. We have close to 60 to 70 participants across the state participating in this program virtually, so anybody's welcome. And that's then. It will then finish up during EMS week. April 23rd, 24th, and 25th, our CME series comes to a close. On the 23rd, national speaker Chris Ebright from Toledo EMS University of Toledo EMS program is going to be talking about the night Joe's Crab Shack almost changed everything, and specifically talking about anaphylactic reactions. That one is virtual. On the 24th at 6:30 in Clarkson and virtual, we will have Amy Eisenhower from the state doing one of her PEDS programs, safe transport of the newly born patients in ambulances. I'm told that she also has some new gear. So if you've seen something similar in the past, she will be having new items there. The next day on May 25th at 6:30, again in person and virtual, Jenny Solomon, also from the state, will be discussing about crucial conversations and looking at our EMS participation and what we need to do to set the tone in quarters and some de-escalation techniques as well. So after that, we are going to be winding down for the summer before we start the CME series again in September. Last thing I wanted to talk about was if you heard any rumors about a paramedic program in Clarkson, I kind of announced it last time, but we are making slow and steady progress with the state and COAMPS. And our intentions are to get things up and running by November. But everything's very preliminary. A lot of work has gone into it. A lot of work will continue to go into it. But I just want to kind of give everybody an update as we progress along. Thank you for the opportunity for the training report in that county.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug on the training that's going on up in St. Lawrence? And it's available virtual. So I assume you'll have those that you can put out. So Jonathan will make sure those go out to everybody when Doug gets the flyers done up so that everybody has opportunities to do that. Bob, Lewis County.
As usual, I really don't have that much. Our EMS council will be meeting on April 18th, and at that time, Lewis County General is going to be presenting the Pulsero info meeting, which is the EMS communication system. That's going to be a big jump for Lewis County, and it's something that we're really not used to, but we look forward to the opportunity. Hopefully, Jonathan, you'll be making the meetings as Ann did. She really enjoyed coming to Lewis County, and of course, you're always welcome, my friend. We'll be meeting in the next week or so with BOCES on the EMT program. They've got opportunity to hopefully have one put in place by next fall. And we're gonna keep pushing forward on that because they do have the teacher that has taught previous classes. And she is a CIC, so they're working with the state, and as long as it makes them money, they're gonna be happy with it. So more to follow on that. Our EMS subcommittee is still meeting at the legislator level. It's slowed down a little bit, but we're still progressing forward. We've got some requests for some planning for drills within Lewis County because we've got some unique water sources there. Office of Fire Prevention and Control has contacted me about doing some swift water stuff as well as some still water stuff. And they're really excited to come to Lewis County because of its diverse water and river pathways that run through it. And of course, windmills are starting to spin up a little bit. They have deliverables for their drills as well. So hopefully we'll get some good EMS interaction with those as well. Of course, we're just finishing up our SNRT planning, which is that little tiny ATV event that we have in our county. So we'll be having some meetings in the next few weeks or so on that. That's going to be on the 22nd for those who aren't aware of the SNRT run. Other than that, that's it for Lewis County. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Moving on, so we already talked about spring fling, proposed budget. Chris touched on that under legislation, and we to date don't have a budget, so that's still in the works. As soon as we know more of what's going on, we certainly will convey that, what's in and what's out when it part us and how it impacts us here in the region. Next is the white paper. We talked about this. We talked about this last time, so I just took a few of the ones of the 25 and we put them together. And what we want to talk about is putting some folks together to start working on some of these and see from a region if there's things that we can do to help promote and get EMS people in the field. Some of them may be, nothing that we can deal with at this point, and we will have to table them, but I wanted to go through those. So the first one, by 12/31/23, create a comprehensive statewide EMS plan to enhance coordination, education, and responsibility among EMS organizations at the regional level. The plan should modernize the structure, duties, and responsibilities of the REMSCOs and program agencies while simultaneously standardizing and clearly defining the REMSCO's role, functions, and lines of oversight and lines of accountability. So we're mentioning that one quite a bit. So I think this is something we have to look at. Do we have people? Do you want to assign it to a committee that already is standing? What is your thoughts?
What is the goal of meeting? Do we want to enact these plans? Do we want to put a position on these thoughts from Part S? Or, I'm sorry, the white paper?
I think if there's some things that we can implement that we can then share with the rest of the state is this is what we tried, this worked, this didn't type deal, so that we can maybe move forward with this and not just have the white paper just kind of sit there, So again, a lot of them are tied to the REMSCOs, and I would just soon be ahead of it and say what we'd like rather than have it dictated to us on what we're gonna do. It's kind of my thought process.
Was there any work, from Ann's perspective, any work on the deliverable items for program agency specifically to at least have some foresight into modernizing that already?
But we have some slight changes to our deliverables, but nothing really measurable.
Right, and for other people's awareness, the program agency contracts across the state of New York are not exactly the same. So unfortunately, there really isn't a template, and the actual definition of program agency fits in one paragraph, about 4 sentences, and leaves things pretty widely gray and undefined. So that's probably why there's some serious emphasis on that. It's disappointing that it's being thrown back by December 31st.
I think also, we have deliverables as a REMSCO.
Yeah.
And are they gonna change as well? They very well could to add some of this in. And again, my feeling is, let's get in front of it and see if we come up with anything so that maybe rather than being dictated to, we can help provide some guidance and direction on what way we as a REMSCO wanna see it go.
You want to form a committee to do
I don't know if we're gonna form a new committee, if somebody thinks that fits under a current committee.
that. I don't know if that really fits under an existing one. I'm not sure what anybody else's opinion is, but it doesn't really fit under the. Like a revitalization or renewal type of committee.
Probably, yeah. Any thoughts, anybody interested, folks? We've got to get past just getting together 4 times a year and coming in here and sitting. We've got to have some people do some things between meetings and come back with things. There was a push at one point, they wanted to try to get rid of the REMSCOs because the thought process was that a lot of them don't do anything. And, we don't want to see that happen. Again, I think we want to be at the beginning side of this and not being dictated to, but rather provide some guidance and direction on what we want to see. We'll be sending out the committee things again here in a few weeks for all the different committees that we have. And I'm going to ask you to answer the doodle poll again. And when you don't answer, you're going to be put on a committee. And you may be put on more than one. So I'd much rather you step up and say if there's something you're interested in before we start assigning. Why don't we go through the one? I didn't list them all. I think they put 6 on here this time of the 25. And some of them, again, I don't think we're going to be able to do anything with. So the second one was increase the number of certified EMS providers in New York State by 10,000 by 2025. I think we need to capture all the classes that are being done in the 3-county region and how many people we're putting out and be able to share that data. Because I think, Doug, between what you're doing up there and what we're doing in Jefferson and Lewis counties, we're offering a lot of classes.
Our classes are full.
And the fact that in Jefferson County in years past, we never could get a summertime class together. And the fact that you have it tells us that things are, so I think we can probably capture that from the course sponsors. So let's just put, course sponsors to provide data there of courses, and we'll just capture that.
Education committee.
Yep. Fund a 3-year, $5 million campaign to promote EMS volunteerism and careers in EMS. We don't have quite that much in our budget right now, but we are coming out with that campaign. And I think we need to share with the state the recruitment retention campaign we're doing, and we can share that. So that would be Peter.
No. You're like a doc.
PIER.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Engage stakeholders to address the decreasing pool of EMS providers to include pay disparities between EMS and other emergency services, benefits, longevity, mental health, work hours, access to EMS education, and migrating from certification to licensure. So,
Legislation.
Yeah. Engage New York State hospitals and the Healthcare Policy Council to strengthen relationships between EMS professionals and hospital systems in order to cooperate, to speed up offloading, wall time, and facilitate discharge planning. I think this is something that we did at one time in Jefferson County. We would try to have meetings with SMC and just sit down, and we've just got to make sure it doesn't turn into the finger pointing and all that. I don't know, Mark, if you guys, do you still do that up in St. Lawrence County?
Not anymore.
Caught him off guard. Do we want to try to push that to a county level? And Bob, do you do anything with Lewis County?
Hasn't really been an issue at Lewis County because they take such a limited patient stream. Anything that's specialized care goes either direct or gets flown out. It's rare to have a wait time at Lewis County General. And that would be the only real facility that I would have any skin in the game at.
I think it also comes back to the whole diversion thing, because some of the hospitals are getting slammed, and that goes way above our pay grade in terms of their ability to have flexibility to add beds or whatever. I mean, that's a big part of what that is, and staff. So they're up against that as well.
Our MIH, facility discharge planning, I think MIH certainly has a place to fill in there. I know I had a conversation with Mark today. They're trying something up in Governor with discharge planning, but also our ability to do an initiative there with the doc in the box and some of our lower acuity calls. We're working on trying to set up some sort of telemedicine network so that we can keep those folks home. So I think there's a lot there that we can help the hospitals with, is that overcrowding and really making sure the people that are going to the hospital need to go there, and the folks that can wait, and the folks that think they just need to go to the hospital, we try to keep at home and facilitate their needs. So that could be something.
Could that
It's
be
kind
at
of
the
like
county level?
It's kind of like two things together.
County level, we try to, and again, if it's not an issue in Lewis County right now, and I think we can kind of look at it that way.
And to be fair, I'd be happy to assist with any other, other county that surrounds me. And if there's a best practice that they utilize there to get patients transferred or, get them in and out of their facility faster, I'd be glad to share that information. I'm sure that the Lewis County General will be happy to share that with us.
Awesome. Create and finance logical and rationalized EMS system design through agency and CON consolidation that appropriately recognizes and includes existing agencies, CON holders and EMS market rate holding municipalities at the county or regional levels. Create a safety net system of systems architecture to direct EMS organizations that are unable to support themselves into a consolidated and coordinated regional entity for shared services and economies of scale, or implement a regional mechanism to provide an independent secondary safety net service that can adequately provide full function ambulances when the primary organization is unable to do so. So I was looking at our Article 30. And that is really spelled out in there for us as a region, that we're supposed to be looking at this and making sure that ambulances are getting where they need to and coming up with a system for those that are faltering. So I don't know what thoughts are there. I think it's frustrating at times because we all know services that need help and you offer help and they don't take advantage of it. And what's that adage? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So I don't know what more we need to do. I think looking at that one Patterson enforcement list, it looks like the state's starting to look at this stuff a little bit closer. And I would much rather we as a region look at those problem ones and see if we can come up with a system rather than have the state come in and do it.
Would that almost be creating a systems committee?
Theoretically.
You're looking at the system as a whole, 3-county system.
And one of their tasks would be to create some type of regionalized template to adhere
I think you can create a new committee, systems committee.
Okay.
No, at least agency-wide, I know that I've had this conversation with my own home agency ad nauseum. Not that I'm worried for our future, we're currently okay, but neighboring agencies aren't as okay. And the mutual aid process is relying heavier and heavier on it to it's the point where I just don't think what we're currently doing is sustainable. And help them regionally involved at the state level. There's a heavier hand involvement. It's not me talking face to a wall.
I think there's going to be a legislative piece in there as well, because out of the three primary first responder type agencies, which ones are essential or which one isn't? There's no obligation by anybody to provide EMS. The towns don't have to do it, the cities don't have to do it, nobody has to provide EMS. They gotta provide police, they gotta provide fire.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
No, there's nothing in law that
There's
says
no
they-
requirement for police or fire protection statement.
Cities do. Cities are required to provide fire and police. They are not required to provide EMS.
Cities over 1 million.
Yes.
Cities over 1 million, that's it. It's the only one that's required by New York state law.
And we only have one of those.
We just
according-
got- With all due respect, Ogdensburg just got a review back from state that said they are, as they tried to move their police out to St. Lawrence County.
Yeah, it's not law, it's an opinion. Been down that road.
So we'll put that as systems committee / legislation then.
Just, sorry, hold on. There we go.
The last one, like I said, I only did a few of them, I went through 7. Establish state designating EMS leadership credentials similar to those recommended in the fire service, fund EMS leadership development programs. We're going to be working on the budget for next year. Our current budget ends on June 30th. And, you know, we have money in training, we have some funds, so I'm thinking maybe we need to put a concerted effort, not only in leadership, but in management of these services and what we can do to assist them. So I'd like that one assigned to the executive committee, please. So I think we need to go back to the first one and figure out where we want to put that. Any thoughts?
Yes, systems.
Yes, it sounds like the system.
Okay. All right. That takes care of that. Thank you. Next thing was the bylaw changes, the one for the, you can do that one. Let's do the hearing panel one first. So if you remember, we found that we did not have this in the bylaws. This was read for the first time last month. We said there was no way if somebody was removed from the REMSCO, there was no way for them to do an appeal process. So this is an appeal process that I've written up to add into the bylaws on the hearing panel. You can read it and then we will vote on whether to add that to the bylaws or not. Karen, did you say something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Do you need me to zoom in farther, or can you guys see it now?
We can see it all right.
You guys good?
Right.
Debbie, are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
Debbie, I'll make the motion to accept this to the bylaws as written.
So we have a motion to add this to the bylaws. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Matt. What I'm gonna do is ask if there's anybody that opposes or abstentions so that we can do the count that way. So if you oppose this, please raise your hand so that we can get a count. Any abstentions? Okay, so moved. So that will be added to the bylaws.
Debbie, I'm assuming you would have told me if there were any hands raised there, correct?
Yeah, there was no hands raised here.
Thank you.
The next one is the REMSCO seats. So at last month's, when we discussed this, hold on.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of stuff sitting behind, I don't know if you need to get rid of some of that stuff.
You gotta save that one first.
I don't wanna.
There
Oh,
it is.
shit.
You gotta save that one first.
There we go.
Omit that from the
You didn't,
record.
you didn't save that. Yeah, the other one you didn't save it.
Didn't close it yet, so.
Okay, so, last month we had in here that, the EMS, county EMS offices could be a, ex officio member, and people wanted to see it added in as the regular member, so that has been done. So that makes Jefferson County with 9 seats, Lewis County with 4, St. Lawrence County with 8, for a total of 21. Any questions? Right now, so you know, we're sitting at filled seats of 19. So Jefferson County would be adding 1. We would need to go from 5 down to 4 for Lewis County, and St. Lawrence County would be adding 2.
And one would have to be.
No, Matt said they're independents. So, and just so you know, Article 30 does specify that a third of the seats have to be by ambulance personnel. And we have the 7 of that, with the 7 that we went through and counted today, have to be ambulance associated council members.
Just a question about the Lewis County, they're gonna be losing one. Is that gonna be done by attrition, or is that gonna be done as just final say?
It's going to be done by attrition.
Okay.
Ron, did you have a question?
Just was asked and answered. It was asked and answered.
Okay.
Hearing that, Debbie, I'll make a motion to approve this month.
So we have a motion to approve the decrease of the seats from the current 30 down to 21, doing it by the 2020 census. And that this would obviously need to be reevaluated on a yearly basis. So I would think we would have the bylaws state that based on census numbers, so that you're not having to do this. When does the next census data come out?
Usually it's every 10 years.
Yeah, it's every 10 years.
Is it every 10 years?
So 2030 is the next one.
They release periodically. Unofficially. I don't know which one to go with.
You go with the official, yeah,
Every 10 years and.
it's every 10 years.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Jim Barr.
Seconded by Jim Barr. So we're gonna do this the same way again. Anybody that's opposed, please raise your hand so we can do a count of those.
Now, wait a minute.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
This is being presented tonight with changes.
No, it was presented last month with changes.
Correct.
Correct. And we talked about it the last meeting of last year in.
In the last meeting, you wanted the numbers to reflect the EMS offices to be included in there, to move from ex officio to show there to show it up there. Is that correct?
Yes.
I would agree.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah,
about
we
it at the end of last year,
Yeah.
and then at the last meeting, so this would be the official.
Ron, go ahead. I know you're not in favor of this. Share your opinion so that people can hear it.
Stay there.
Share, I would like you to share your opinion on why you don't agree with it.
I don't think we should be going down, no, hold on, no, hold on.
Those that
I'm
oppose,
done sharing my opinion.
Ron, stop. I gave you an opportunity just now to share your opinion.
Oh, here's over. I call the vote.
Those that oppose, please raise your hand. Anybody there? I can't see.
No.
There's none here as well. Any abstentions? So carried. Other old business from the floor. Hearing none, going on to new business. Elections of officers. Mark, I'm going to need you to do the chair one because I can't do it when I'm the one up. So you have to say, are there any others for 3 times type deal?
Okay, you want to do the chair first? Are there any other nominations for the chair from the floor? Are there any other nominations for the chair from the floor? I thought you were volunteering, Ken. Any other nominations for the chair from the floor?
Make a motion for the nomination to be closed and secretary cast one ballot. Second that.
So we have a motion and a second to close it, and the secretary cast 1 ballot for myself for chair.
Any opposition?
Next one is secretary.
Who seconded that, Debbie?
Larry.
Larry George.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Are there any nominations from the floor for secretary? Are there any nominations from the floor for secretary? Are there any other nominations from the floor for secretary? I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to close the nominations.
Second.
That was Bruce and who?
Dottie Suter.
We have a motion that the chairperson cast a ballot for the secretary, correct?
Correct.
It's to amend it. Don't say that.
Make it go in longer.
Just let it go.
Is there any other opposition? Anyone abstain? Motion carries.
And then treasurer. Bobby
Who do
Simpson.
we have for treasurer?
Bobby Simpson.
Are there any other nominations from the floor?
I know you all want that job. Try to contain yourself.
Any other nominations from the floor? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Oh, I'll entertain a motion that the secretary cast a ballot for Bobby Simpson for treasurer.
Oh, heck, I'll make that.
I'll second it.
Got Ken and Barb. Is there any opposition? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries.
Okay. The other thing I had in a new business is I wanted to talk about having the remote site and get feedback. Is this working? Is it, for you folks up there, is it an issue? Do we like it? Do we want to continue with this? Do you want to go back to one site? I would like some input from you folks up there.
I would like to, I'll let them go.
Off of my drive home.
Me too.
I don't mind it either way, because it's an hour either way for me.
You'll be back in Canada.
So Bob, I might have another camera that maybe we can set up a Lewis County location. So then that way we can have the 3 sites, 1 in each county. The only thing that would be a challenge is getting it to you and getting it back, because we use it for other meetings here at FDRHPO. Is that something you'd be interested in?
I would actually take that a step further. If you can get me information on the camera itself, and if you can get me information on the software, I would entertain buying one for Lewis County, just because I could think of many other uses for it as well.
Okay, I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Very good.
That's not gonna mess with your quorum and all that open meeting and.
No, because we would then publish 3 sites that are available for people to be able to go to attend.
Doesn't have to be a majority in one or something, right? They don't hang up.
No.
May I voice?
Mhm.
We have 4 regular meetings a year. For the 4 regular meetings a year, I think there's a lot that is lost by having remote sites like this. With 4 meetings a year, I'd like to see everything under one roof. For the special meetings, for like the CON, I have no problem having remote sites. I can't see having people drive way from the upper part of St. Lawrence County or Lewis County, way down here for 10 minutes of visit. But for the 4 meetings, we used to meet, I think, 10 or 12 times a year, years gone by. I don't think asking people to come 4 times a year, because there's a lot of business that gets conducted behind the scenes when you're in person. It does not get conducted now. That's my opinion.
But we're missing sitting here versus sitting there.
What did we miss? What did we?
This is Karen Blackburn. I'm asking what we're missing sitting here versus sitting there.
Behind the scenes conversation.
That's what he's getting at.
I don't know how many people claim mileage, but I think if we had the mileage, it could be paid by now. So. And that's just my opinion. You don't have to do it on my account.
I will say though, looking at it from the attendance perspective and interaction perspective, it's 10 times better than it was before. I'm not stressing now on the week before a REMAC meeting or a REMSCO meeting going, oh God, I can't get a quorum. Who can I call and beg to be here?
We're through it, saying we're gonna be able to have a meeting and texting, oh, we got one more, we got one more, how close we are to having what we need.
Texting and then realizing we both texted the same person. That takes one off the count.
Yeah, I agree with Ron. I mean, I do think it takes away from it, but I also am a firm believer that you have to adapt to change. And particularly post the COVID pandemic, if you're not doing online meetings, I think you got one eyeball sleeping. That's one of the things I think a lot of, across the board, everyone has learned this. Ooh, we can have these meetings and be a lot more productive, save costs. I don't foresee it going away. I personally think that we probably should keep it. And I definitely would be interested in involvement we may garner from Lewis County first responders having a satellite location there. Not that I don't mind coming here, it's 45 minutes for me to come here, it's not a big deal. But generally, the apprehension that I've seen, at least in trying to get people to come to these types of meetings, is the drive time, the commitment, et cetera. And I think if you tell them it's 5 minutes to the neighboring village, we tried that with the county council meeting and actually worked a little bit, but we've gone ourselves back towards the center of the county with a virtual option where we can. It does help some, but I think this is probably a positive, like, kind of half of what Mark was saying, a positive way to owe to the newer generation of EMS professional that's out there. It's used to a more virtual or hybrid type of environment. And as long as we can conduct the business that we're charged to do so under public health law, then I think it behooves us to at least try it for the next meeting. And if it falls flat on its face, then we made a valiant attempt at something new and we can go back to what we were doing next.
And I believe we already got the next one, we reserved it just to make sure we had it right.
Yeah, public health and safety.
Just to have something on the agenda, the date, so that we wouldn't get caught short type deal. So we'll work with Bob and see if we can get something set up over there then. And see if we can do it, we'll try it, and then we'll see where everybody's at after the June meeting. We have the summer off, we meet again in October type deal. Although it sounds like we may need to, if the CON paperwork comes in, then we may have to meet before that type deal, so. I guess rumors have it that there's one that may be coming in.
Yeah, that's all we got told is, no clue. Just told that,
Not sure where.
not sure where, I just know Daddy-O's got it. That's all I got was, I got one for you.
Any other new business?
Make a motion.
It's a team.
Adjourn.
Motion and a second to close the meeting. I'll be setting up a thing. Hopefully you guys can give us some help with spring fling. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Debbie, who seconded that vote? I'm sorry.
Everybody and anybody.
Pick a name.
Pick anyone on that one.
Or you want it.